Thanks, dear revered Brahma Prana Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to interact with all devotees, discussing this great book, great in many respects, uh, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Once upon a time, as it published in 1923, it became soon the bestseller, got translated into many languages, and let us study it a bit. It is very sublime book full of spiritual poetry and lot of insight into what we in India call, or what Hindus call, the avatar, God incarnating as human being. So this is the idea in this whole book, and presented with tremendous this poetical charm, as well as very deep thought process that one can get into. It is more, as it is poetry, it is more question of feeling rather than intellectual understanding. Intellectual understanding, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, can take us only to the outer parlor. But the devotion or love can take us deep inside. A few words about Khalil Gibran. I'm not going to speak much about him today for the lack of time. And most details are available on internet. One can refer to those. He lived from 1883 to 1931, born in what is now called Lebanon, and studied partially in Lebanon and in United States, also in France. Very proficient in Arabic, English, and French. He became very well known as a poet, a writer, and more importantly, a painter, an artist. His religious affiliation, not any formal member of any particular church or creed or sect, as he declares himself in one of the beautiful poems. It is The Voice of Poet. That is one poem which tells us about how his spiritual or religious outlook was. And let me quote from that poem. You are my brother and I love you. I love you when you prostrate yourself in your mosque and kneel in your church and pray in your synagogue. You and I are sons of one faith, the Spirit, and those that are set up as heads over its many branches are as fingers on the hand of a divinity that points to the Spirit's perfection. So, when the word spiritual was not such an overused coin, not an overused word, it is, he mentioned it very clearly that he understands the search for the inner spirit, adherence to that innermost core, divine core of everybody's existence. And he sees that that is what is to be sought through the mosques, temples, churches, and all other religious places. He was well known to the Baha'i teachers. He was also very closely acquainted with Walt Whitman, whom Swami Vivekananda called the American Rishi. So, and this particular book is so touching. I'm thankful to a member of Vedanta Society of Providence, a very prominent member. She doesn't want me to take her name, so I will keep it just like that. So many years ago, she presented me a copy of this book. Before that, I had read some small works, a few lines as quotes, or some paragraphs, inspiring paragraphs from Khalil Gibran. And one more note, although his name was Khalil, Khalil, that is, but when he came to United States, while he was coming in, the clerk at the desk where they were noting all the immigrants' names, he spelled it K-A-H, Khalil, like that. And so that became his official American name. It is, there is a joke about it that this thing, a Chinese name, a Chinese person who actually is Chinese, but he got some Scandinavian name. So somebody asked, how did you get this name? Your face and everything appear to be Asian Chinese. He said, yes, my actual name is Sam Ting. But when just ahead of me was a Scandinavian guy, and then the clerk wrote his name, and then when my turn came, I said Sam Ting. So he thought it is same thing. So that is how I got this name. So those were the days with a lot of such mistakes. Joke apart, friends, but it was not so different like Sam Ting to Johan San. So it is much better than that. It is anyway. This book describes the prophet. The prophet means one who bears a message and gives it. And the message is given through the vehicle called intense love. You cannot force a message through lectures. Sri Ramakrishna many times said, what happens giving the lecture? You Kolkata people, you are always busy giving lectures. Unless there is the power of God, unless there is a command, divine command, your words will not make any dent in the minds of people. So the prophet is the one who has been assigned this job. So the story begins. I will not dwell much into just the introductory part. Again, for the lack of time, the book is tremendously rich, and although we'll not be able to read the book completely in today's 2 lectures, maybe we can read at most 3 or 4 of these chapters. So, but still, let us go right into it without spending too much time in introduction. So, the book begins with the Prophet Al-Mustafa, his name. I think many of you have a copy of the book in hand. It is available on internet as a PDF. A free PDF is available. And it would be good if you have the book at your hand. It is. So the name of the prophet is Al-Mustafa, which actually means the one who dedicates life for the good of others, has no purpose to achieve in life except uh, for the good of others. As Sri Ramakrishna again, I find more meaning into this, all these, when I look into the sayings of the great incarnations that we know. Like Sri Ramakrishna says that all actions of this means pointing the finger to his own person. He would say all actions of this are uh, for the others to learn, others to learn. So, this Al Mustafa, the meaning of this Arabic word is that is there for the good of others, has no purpose to be achieved for one's own sake. Like you read in the Shankara's introductory commentary on Bhagavad Gita, that how is the Avatara's life, that swaprayojan abhave api. I like this word very much. Swaprayojan abhave api, without any selfish one's own purpose, bhutanu jigrikshaya, out of the compassion for others, the beings in this world, this divine is as if born, as if lives amongst us. Jata iva anugrah lokanugrah kurvan iva cha lakshate. That is as if born, is not born like us, that we are compelled to be born in this world, and because of our karma, because of our desires, that force us to be imprisoned in this body. It is, yesterday I was listening to Sarvapriyananji's lecture, who will be visiting you in October. So it is, he heard it from a monk, and I too had heard it in the same way, that we are imprisoned in this body, and it is as a dark cell of solitary confinement. And we, because of our karma and because of the various desires that we have, we are punished to be in the body. It is not something that we have freely taken up. We are forced to assume a body, like a prisoner who has done something, is convicted and doomed to, say, spend a life in a solitary confinement. There is no question that the convict cannot say, no, I don't want to go. Well, that is not a matter of choice for you, dear. You have to go. You will be taken and put into the prison. So, similarly, our taking, our assuming human body, the word assuming is not correct at all. Our being forced into a body is due to various desires that we have, our ignorance, whatever you may call, and the karma that is associated. It is that makes us come to this human body in this world, and thus we are born with our limited understanding. But the incarnation is not like that. The God incarnation is a visitor to the prison, is just coming to examine the prison or give some classes. Many religious teachers and yoga teachers go to visit to prisons to teach the prisoners. And now they are not imprisoned. It is a matter of their free choice to go to prison to teach certain beneficial things for the prisoners. And thus, that is a very different category. God incarnation is like that. That takes up human body for the welfare of humanity, to teach humanity, because it is our compulsion, friends, that we can learn from other human beings. It is, and therefore God too has to take human form to teach humanity. It is human weakness. That is why in our schools you see the teachers are all human beings, and nobody takes in school system in US or anywhere in the world for that matter, that a dog becomes the head of a school. No, it is, or a assistant teacher. No, all teachers have to be human beings. Why? Because it is our need, our necessity, that we learn only from human beings. So thus, it is the incarnation, a prophet, that there is a message that is to be given. It is uh, like Swami Vivekananda said, that I have a message to give. He wrote in this nice letter that if you think I have to do lot of work, no, no, I have no work. I have to just to give a message. So his life was just a message. So this Al Mustafa has spent 12 years in this island of Orphelis. Orphelis was an island. They and Al Mustafa was chosen to deliver message there. So a prophet who is bearing a message, and he was living there for 12 years. And this was the day he was longing for quite some time, that he has to go back to his original land, that the land he came from. It is always the longing was for that. Again, let me refer to Sri Ramakrishna's saying, that he said that his mind has always wanted to soar in samadhi. It is with great force that it was being pulled on this plane of normal human beings. It was kept there with great force. The natural tendency of his mind was to merge in samadhi. Like we have doors here, which through electromagnets, they are kept open. But in case of any emergency, this alarm goes, immediately they close, because the magnetic force then stops working, and those doors, they collapse to shut the building. So their natural tendency is to be closed. With the magnetic force, they are kept apart, kept open. So it is like that this prophet, this incarnation lives amongst us. But the eyes are always set on the land, my own true nature. My true nature is, and so he was waiting for that ship to come back and to take him back to his land. And every day he would go to see if the ship is coming. 12 long years have he spent there, has he spent there, and then it is said that he had waited 12 years in the city of Orpheus for his ship that was to return and bear him back to the isle of his birth. And in the 12th year, on the 7th day of Elul, I don't know what it exactly means, Elul, the month of reaping, that is significant. The month of reaping, that you sow the seeds, you work hard to make the crop come up, nurture it, and now this is the time to reap the harvest. It is so for 12 years, as it were, he was tilling the soil, sowing the seeds, and now the crop is ready. The harvesting is to be done now. So he is on that day now, he sees that the ship is approaching. He climbed the hill without the city walls, means outside of the city walls, and looked seaward, and he beheld his ship coming with the mist. Friends, the whole language is so beautiful. It is not the regular English language that one uses in prose, although the book, the shape is prose, but it is poetry. It is impossible to actually put the writings of Khalil Gibran into this set, these patterns, like it is a poetry, or it is a prose, or it is an essay, or it is a play. All are there actually. He has written many stories. Now, whether it is a short story or a poetry is very difficult to say in his case, because the language is so poetic. Poetry is not just something, rhyming lines put together. Jack and Jill went up the hill. It rhymes. What? How much poetry is there? Who knows? It is that doesn't make it poetry. But the words should be such that they automatically prompt you beyond the words. They carry you beyond the superficial meaning of the words. That is what is called poetry. In Hindi language, many of you understand Hindi, so I'll tell that. It is said that Jo na dekhe Ravi, so dekhe Kavi, means what the normal sunlight cannot see, the poet sees that, and expresses that. So that is the beauty of poetry. And it is not easy to dissect it, not easy to, uh, show in a lecture. Look, this is how the poetry is. But as we read it, we get that feel, that charm, and we start understanding it. If you read it once, twice, thrice, you will find it so interesting, and get more and more wisdom out of it. So, yes, so that is this. He begins it like that. Oh, I left that story half told. A member presented me just a copy of this book, and it was lying on my shelf for quite some time, some years. She kept me asking, "Have you read that?" I said, "No." At When I get leisure, I will read. I have hundreds of books to read. And then she said, okay, read at least a couple of pages. Mm. Then once I found that, well, that book is at hand and I didn't have any other very pressing thing to do. So I took out that book and started reading. And what a treasure it opened before me. Since then I read it, not only I read it, I deeply thought about it. And then I have given so many retreats, lectures on this book. It is not really as most all my lectures are. They are not to uh, for the listeners. That is secondary. Primarily, they are for my reading, my getting dwelling deep into that. So, at I have given retreats on it at Ridgely Manor, at Atlanta, of course, a long series of 7, 8 summer lectures in Providence, and also in Indianapolis. Many places I spoke about this wonderful book. So, after this short diversion, let us continue. That it is, he looked seaward and beheld his ship coming with the mist. It is, think of it, visualize it, far away, early morning, near the horizon, it still is misty, and you spot the say a sail, tip of the sail or a mast of a ship, and then the ship is approaching. So uh, then the gates of his heart were flung open. He was waiting, say, for a long time for the ship to come and carry him back. He knew that it is not his land. It is, he is a stranger here in this place. He is just a traveler. He is not in his homeland. That exactly is the meaning as the Kabbalist present of the Jewish idea of being in a foreign land, and we should go back to the promised land. The promised land is not actually a particular place. It is the Kabbalists mention, and that stands to reason. The students of Vedanta can easily connect that promised land is our own nature. We are in this body, we are in exile. In this world, this is not our true nature. Our true nature is always prompting us. When we seek happiness, what is prompting us? It is our true, eternally happy, blessed nature that is asking us, well, get there. We mistake it like I am getting to eat a candy, but that is not the candy is not prompting us actually. It is our true, ever blissful nature that is calling on us, friends, to get out of this exile, being confined in this body, and realize the divine nature, our true blissful nature. So that is what he has been longing for. And so you can imagine now the opportunity. A long wait is about to end. And so he is now feeling that the gates of the heart are flung open. And just let us feel these words, that it is. Uh, and his joy flew far over the sea, and he closed his eyes and prayed in the silences of his soul. Already you start thinking, of that your true land. Mm, because now you are going there. See, when you have planned to go somewhere, and now the time of journey is coming, already the mind is thinking about the destination, where you want to go, what you want to do there, how many friends you will be meeting there, and so forth. So that is how I used to feel when uh, during the school days. Then I was away, staying away from home. Then the time would be there that, well, now I'm going on back to my home for vacation, and then as I would be getting the ready to go to the train station to catch the train, time is now there, and I already would start thinking, this is what I will surely share with my siblings and with my other friends living there, and this is how I'm taking this thing for my mom. This is what I'll be taking for my dad, and this is what my grandmother had told me to bring for her, and so forth. So already the mind is leaping in that direction. So that is what the prophet is now, that the mission is being done, completed. But he is going back for sure now. The time has come. So he is thinking of that. And then there is this glad tidings. They are stopped by something else. And that is how the life is. That when you want to go forward, you have to leave things behind. Mm. They You cannot have both, in this sense that let me have ignorance as well as knowledge. If you want to go to the land of knowledge, it is an automatic necessary condition that you have to leave behind the ignorance. It is something that is necessitated by what you want to get. It is not a price that is determined by just market tidings or the human this desires. No, this is the price that one has to pay by the very nature of it. What Shankaracharya calls that it is Vastu Tantra. Very beautiful two words that come there, Purusha Tantra and Vastu Tantra. That's something that is determined by the human beings, like the price that you set. If I have to say sell a car, then the price, I will put the price at what price it will get sold. I think about it, what's the market price for this. I can increase the price if I feel that I can get more money. If I feel that no, I reduce it. Also, if I have to give it to, if I can give it for free because you're my friend, come on, I would love to give it to you. It is like that. You see, it is dependent on a person. But the price that you pay, it is something that is dependent on that thing itself. Like, the price I pay for, say, uh, getting a cake. There, whatever the price is, sometimes more, sometimes high, depending on the markets and so forth. So, that is one price. That is dependent on the conditions. At one place, they gave it to me for free that day because that was their policy that day. That not just that day, uh, it is on certain Wednesday or something. First customer will get free. So I got it for free, a coffee and a cookie. So I got it for free. So now that is the price. So I got it for free. But the price of eating cake, it will sit on my waist. It will add to my the caloric intake. It will add to my cholesterol count and my weight and all other health problems that will follow. That doesn't get determined by any of those things. Whether I pay $5 or I get for free, that is a different matter. This is something that is determined by the nature of the cake. That it will, like one of our devotees very nicely puts it, you indulge and you bulge. Mm. That is the price. That is, it is dependent on the nature of that thing. It is not determined by yeah, how many dollars you pay. You can heckle for that price and maybe you will get cheaper, whatever it may be. But this is called Vastu Tantra. That this is the price that you have to pay. You have to leave behind the ignorance if you want to get knowledge. Can you have a bargain about it? Well, no bargain in that. You will get only as much knowledge as you get rid of ignorance. They are mutually exclusive things. So now he feels that for 12 years he has stayed here. He has made close associates, friends. Now, how can he just get away from these people? It will be a big pang of separation. It is, yeah, that is how the nature of this world is. We get into some place and formed connections. We get related to things. They become kind of part of ours, whether we know it or not. They get into us, they become part of us, and it is only when we have to uh, go away, when we have to leave, then we feel, oh, it is so very difficult. I have formed a tremendous bond of love. So, this prophet, bountiful of love in him, and he dwelled amongst these people for 12 long years. Let us read what the beautiful words. But as he descended the hill, a sadness came upon him, and he thought in his heart, how shall I go in peace and without sorrow? Nay, not without a word, and not without a wound. In the spirit shall I leave this city. There would be a wound. Mm. Long were the days of pain I have spent within its walls, and long were the nights of aloneness. And who can depart from his pain and his aloneness without regret? Just think of these words, friends. Ah, that yes, this is so painful. Uh, he knew he is longing. We don't know, that's all. But we are also longing for that true homeland, true promised land, the land of the natural bliss and freedom and love. But here, what is here, as Buddha said? Oh, dukkham, sarvam dukkham, all is pain here. And so, but can we depart from pain? No, we want to keep on hugging the pain. Mm. So he says, who can get away from his pain and his aloneness? And we are alone here too, not just pain. Being in a solitary confinement, we are alone. Although we form connections, it is with just our imaginations that we form connections. It is, we are in solitary confinement. And what we form connections is only the shadows. And that, those Plato's and those prisoners, they were able to see the outer things only as shadows. And they thought of them as real. And they've, you see, got into loving connections with those because they never saw anything outside. So that is how our lives are. But still, can we get away from that without pain? Hmm. Too many fragments of spirit have I scattered into these streets, and too many are the children of my longing that walk naked amongst these hills, and I cannot withdraw from them without a burden and an ache. It is. We are not actually aware how much entangled we are in this world. It is a very deep entanglement. Uh, that is why to take up a monastic life is difficult for people. I tell many people, well, it is, in this monastic life, you get uh, everything for free. You get a house to live in for free. Look at me. You get food for free. See, and very good food that too. You get for free. And what is the problem? The job security is maximum. It is, and still, and you have no work as such. You are on vacation all the time. It is. Somebody asked me, he was going on leave. It was an interesting conversation. He was working very hard and said, well, now I am looking for leave. As soon as this is done, I am going for a long leave. And then he asked, Swami, do you go for leave anytime? I said, I have 365 days a year leave. So it is wonderful. He didn't seem to be much impressed, but it is that is the truth, friends. It is nothing that you have to. It is just matter of all free, doing it for yourself, for free. So it is all this, but why still uh, monks and nuns, they are one of the most rare commodities, Why so? Because it is not easy to sever the attachments, the bondages, the knots that have been tied to make us live and get roasted. In Swamiji's words, barbecued here in this uh, kind of hellish place, suffer. It is everybody suffers here. There is no getting away from this fact. And because of these entanglements, attachments, it is, and this prophet sees, well, even this prophet, he feels, although it is, for him, it is part of his message, part of his being there. So he has formed now connections, love. Uh, but it is not really an entanglement for him because he knows that this is not his. His longing is much stronger. But these are the connections through which he can distribute the knowledge. Think of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna's longing for the devotees to come. I'm sure you have read that part in his biography, that the same anguish and same yearning that he was feeling for the realization of Divine Mother, same yearning he felt. He started crying aloud, "Oh, where are you all? Please come." Same yearning. How? Because that is how the distribution link, it is just as a farmer, think of it, produces in the land, and now at that time he is yearning for the crops and other things. Then he takes it to the marketplace. Now he is yearning for the customers. Uh, See the apparent contradiction. First, he is yearning for the grains. Now he has the grains. Now he is yearning to get rid of those grains in a way. So it is apparently different, opposite. But that is how it is. These chains in case of prophets, these attachments, they are the links through which the knowledge gets distributed. So see this, if you look at the lives of these great, like the lives of Sri Ramakrishna, life of Krishna, life of Buddha and Jesus, how much they loved, how much they loved. Jesus said in his Last Supper that I tell you, you love each other as I loved you. Through this love, now the doors have been made, the channels have been made for the knowledge to flow. So he is feeling that tremendous connection. So he is not feeling it just, okay, got rid of it. No. He says, uh, and what a beautiful language it is. He says, uh, and I cannot withdraw from them without a burden and an ache. It is not a garment I cast off this day, but a skin that I tear with my own hands. How painful will it be? Hmm? Taking out a garment, well, we do it all the time without any pain. In fact, we keep want to do it. But tear of the skin, it is no, it is very, how much pain, just imagine. So this prophet is saying, Al Mustafa is saying that that is how all these my connections have been formed. And that is how the real love of this prophet is functioning like that. That he is not thinking of gaining anything out of those. It is the channels for distribution. It will be, as you can see, as the pages that come after this. So he says, nor is it a thought that I leave behind me, but a heart made sweet with hunger and with thirst. That heart is now being in these people. It is, that is what is being left behind. And then he says, yet I cannot tarry longer. That is where the difference is. Yes, I love all this, but the idea is not that therefore I will just be bound to them. It is the ordinary love binds, the love of incarnation frees. It shows us also the path to where we need to go. That is the difference. He knows he cannot tarry any longer. The sea that calls all things unto her calls me, and I must embark. For to stay, though the hours burn in the night, is to freeze and crystallize and be bound in a mold. So, fain would I take with me all that is here, but how shall I? A voice cannot carry, and see the thought behind this tremendously potent line. A voice cannot carry the tongue. The tongue is producing the voice. Can the voice carry the tongue? No. So all that is here has to be left behind. The voice cannot carry the tongue and the lips that gave it wings. Alone it must seek the ether. Alone it goes. The word leaves the lips and the tongue. So it is that is how, and alone and without his nest shall the eagle fly across the sun. The eagle flies not carrying its nest with it. Mm. So he understands these things. You cannot carry your bondage because that means bondage. If you want to free, don't carry your bondage with you. Now, when he reached the foot of the hill, he turned again towards the sea, and he saw his ship approaching the harbor. And upon her prow, the mariners, the men of his own land, they have come now to bear him back. Uh, and his soul cried out to them, and he said, Sons of my ancient mother, you riders have you sailed in my dreams? Because he was always thinking of going to that supreme, true home of ours. That is our true home. That is why you say in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, uh, that speaks of Krishna as Param Dhama. You are our true home. Param Dhama means the highest, the true home. Other homes are, temporary homes. We don't have any permanent home here. You may say, no, I bought this and I plan to stay here all the time. Do you? You don't stay permanently in any home. You go out. Otherwise, it will be a prison. You are in that home for a time. Maybe you sleep there, and in the morning, maybe you have to go to work. These days, of course, everybody, most of you are working from home, but otherwise, you need to go out. That is why the house has doors. It is so. It is you go out. It is, and then you change also. Many people buy their old home, sell their old home, buy a new one, and for various reasons. So it is like that, that they are not our real homes. It is a very good uh, mm, thought meditation, that you can keep on thinking, what is my true home where I am always? And that is my true home. Agreed. This is there, that my true home is where I am always. And always I feel at ease. That is the home. You go to travel, go to different places, maybe very nice places, Uh, you stay in, say, 5 stars or whatever hotels, and with best arrangements that your actual home doesn't have. But then, when you come back, what? That feeling of relaxation. Ah, I have come back to my own home. You feel that sense of relaxation. Now, I have come back here, and now he is that. Where do we feel like that? It is in this home that we call mine. It changes. Some years you stayed in one place, some years you stayed in another place. All of you have experienced that. And then, so that was not your home. Even if some place that it is your home, you are not always there. You go for travel, you are out to meet somebody, for you are out for some work. That is not again your home. You may say that, well, I am always in body. That's my true home. You are not. Are we in body all the time? We are not. For example, when we are dreaming, we are not in this body. It is not, even this body is not our real home. Moreover, this body gets destroyed, it dies. It's no more our home. You have to go to other body, change the body. So none of them are our real home. But we always dwell in God. And that is always our real home. Even when we are dwelling in all other places, our this home, I am divine. That home is always there. That is our true home. Getting where all our troubles vanish. I am now back in my home. One lady who was staying here for a few days, she was traveling to some other place also, and then she was thinking, oh, and then on uh, 17th of next month I will go back to my home. And then one could see her, that thoughts written on her face, that, and then I will get to sleep in my own bed. It is like that. You will get to be with your true nature. So that is the real home. So let us continue reading. And then, now, when he reached the foot of the hill, he turned again towards the sea, and he saw his ship approaching. We read that part. And then, ready am I to go? He uh, tells those people on the ship that ready am I to go, and my eagerness with uh, sails full set awaits the wind. Only another breath will I breathe in this still air. Only another loving look cast backward, and then I shall stand amongst you, a seafarer among seafarers, and you, vast sea, sleepless mother. Now, these are very beautiful words and with lot of tremendous meaning. Who alone are peace and freedom to the rivers and the streams. Uh, they lose their confines when they meet the sea. Only another winding will this stream make, only another murmur in this glade, and then shall I come to you, a boundless drop to the boundless ocean. And this is a beautiful statement, boundless drop. Is drop boundless? Yes and no. In its nature, it is boundless. It is, but in shape it is bound, that's all. And so, therefore, a boundless drop in the boundless ocean. It is an analogy, a statement in Kathopanishad comes to mind, that how it becomes, yathodakam shuddhe shuddham asiktam tavad eva. It is as if just a pure water is put in another pot of pure water. Like that, Atma Bhavati Gautama, this being goes into that's it, vast being, what was its nature already. So it is like that it dissolves. So he continues there, and as he walked, he saw from afar men and women leaving their fields and their vineyards and hastening towards the city gates. And he heard their voices calling his name and shouting from field to field, telling one another of the coming of the ship. They knew now he will go. He will go. No, no, they started saying, please don't go. But he said to himself, shall the day of parting be the day of gathering? That is how it is. The day of parting is the day of gathering. Means you harvest. That harvesting is when you part now from the field to the shops, to the markets. And shall it be said that my eve was in the truth my dawn? Yeah. And what shall I give unto him who has left his plough in the mid furrow, or to him who has stopped the wheel of his winepress? Shall my heart become a tree heavy laden with fruit, that I may gather and give unto them? See that urgency, you can feel the love there, friends. The urgency and the desire to give this all the fruits that are laden on his heart's tree, give to these people who are seeking. So, and shall my desires flow like a fountain, that I may fill their cups? That is what the prophet, the incarnation does. Am I a harp that the hand of the mighty may touch me, or a flute that his breath may pass through me? Just an instrument, there is no I and mine. The divine is playing the instrument. So, a seeker of silences uh, am I, and what treasure have I found in silences that I may dispense with confidence? If this is my day of harvest, in what fields have I sowed the seed, and in what uh, unremembered seasons? If this indeed be the hour in which I lift up my lantern, it is not my flame that shall burn therein. Empty and dark shall I raise my lantern, and the guardian of the night shall fill it with oil, and he shall light it also. Tremendous words. I will even not attempt to uh, elucidate them anymore. These are matters to be felt, friends, and not just because I see the clock moving faster than I can elucidate these things, but because the inherent impossibly difference. The poetry, as I said in the beginning, the charm has to be felt with a heart full of such feelings. That is how one can understand and feel these things. These things he said in words, that is the next line says that. These things he said in words but much in his heart remained unsaid, for he himself could not speak his deeper secret. And when he entered into the city of the people, uh, all the people came to meet him, and they were crying out to him as with one voice. And the elders of the city stood forth and said, "Go not yet away from us. And noontide have you been in our twilight, and your youth has given us dreams to dream. No stranger are you amongst us, nor a guest, but our son and our dearly beloved. Suffer not yet our eyes to hunger for your face." And the priest and the priestess said unto him, "Let not the waves of the sea separate us now, and the years you have spent in our midst become a memory." Yes, when you are here, we talk to you, then it will have to be done in memory. Oh, Al Mustafa was here with us. He said like this, uh, and how he dwelt. All those things then become memory. So they are saying, "Please don't go, and let us not uh, be just thinking about you. Let us not be with you only in memory. Don't make us suffer like that. You have walked amongst us a spirit, and your shadow has been a light upon our faces." Think of this beautiful statement, friends, that your shadow has been a light upon our faces. It is, that is how so powerful it is. It is, the shadow is devoid of light, but that proved that his shadow was like the light on our faces. Much have we loved you, but speechless was our love, and with veils has it been veiled. Yet now it cries aloud unto you, and would stand revealed before you. And ever has it been that love knows not its own depth until the hour of separation. Until the hour of separation, you don't know how much the love was, how much the bondage was. It was that closeness is not felt. You take it for granted. Yeah, it is like that. It is sometimes in Bhagavatam that analogy is given about Krishna's being present in amongst the gopis, devotees, that it is like the moon, the reflection of the moon in the pond. Now, the fish in the pond, that they thought that this is a very nice fish. That moon was shadow, that reflection of the moon was thought as a very nice thing to play with. They thought of it as like us. But the moon was not going to be there. It is not in the waters at all. It is reflected in the waters. It is, and it is going to go away. So that is how this spirit goes out from us. It's a very beautiful and very powerful way of understanding that the spirit is one in us, all over. It is how it comes in the body, how it goes, nobody really knows what made the entry of it. There is a very beautiful Bengali song written by Sufi Lalan Fakir. Many of you have probably heard that খাঁচার ভিতর অচিন পাখি কেমনি আসে যায়, that how in this body, how this bird. This body is like a cage. How the bird gets in and gets out, and knowing that fellow who gets in and gets out, all the problems of life will be solved. We will be in bliss just by knowing that. Who is that fellow? So that is, and the others also came and entreated him, but he answered them not. He only bent his head, and those who stood near saw his tears falling upon his breast. And he and the people proceeded towards the great square before the temple. And there came out of the sanctuary a woman whose name was Almitra, means friend to everyone, Alamitra. And she was a seeress, a sage. So, like a rishi, rishi means the one who sees. And the feminine of that seer has been made seeress, the one who sees. And normally we say we see, we don't see. We see that which is unreal. Is it called seeing? That is not, actually, we are not seeing that which is real. And so, the one who really sees, they are called rishis, these seers. So this Almitra was like that. And then uh, he looked upon her with exceeding tenderness, for it was she who had first sought and believed in him when he had been but a day in their city. She could see. Like in Sri Ramakrishna's life, we see that in Kamarpukur as his child, only that Prasannamai could recognize that he is divine. Only a few handful people could recognize uh, that here is God in body. And she hailed him, saying, Prophet of God, in quest of the uttermost, long have you searched the distances for your ship, and now your ship has come, and you must needs go. She was not telling him to not go like others. You must go. Deep is your longing for the land of your memories and the dwelling place of your greater desires. And our love would not bind you, nor our needs hold you. That is the difference between true love. The uh, love in this world, what gets called as love, binds, holds back. No, this love, she says, no, it will not. Yet, she says, this we ask, you leave us, before you leave us, that is the poetic word, that you speak to us and give us of your truth. Tell us now the harvesting time, give us. That tree of his heart is laden with the fruits, and give us those fruits. Tell us that, and we will give it unto our children, and they unto their children, and it shall not perish. See, the message of incarnations does not perish at all. Even now, people are getting the wisdom from the words uttered by Rama, maybe how many thousands of years old, at least 10,000 years back. And those words might have been uttered and are still relevant and giving the solace and the nectar to people. It is like that, it will go on. The words of Jesus, they are still carrying this tremendous strength. That is how they, for ordinary, great man one day, very famous, people look for the words, but the next day, the meaning is gone. So, in your aloneness, you have washed with our days, and in your wakefulness you have listened to the weeping and the laughter of our sleep. Now, therefore, disclose us to ourselves. Disclose us to ourselves. Let us see our true nature and tell us all that have been shown you of that which is between birth and death. And he answered, people of Orpheus, of what can I speak, save of that which is even now moving within your souls? So this is, we read the first chapter here. And then in the next session, we shall discuss what he has been asked to speak of. The first thing Almitra herself says, speak of love. We shall try to see that in our next session. The time is already up. I took more time as is wont of mine. I am accused of that by our friends that you take longer. You speak